This video contains spoilers for anybody that is not past the Wano arc.
What's up, y'all? You know what time it is. It's about to be that time.
Savage.
And we're back with another theory/discussion video. Today's topic, Eustass, Captain Kidd, everyone's favorite character.
Nani?
Okay, fine. One of the most divisive characters in One Piece. You're either lukewarm to him or you completely hate him. And then there's like a 0.1% of people that really love Kidd for whatever reason.
Savage.
The reason why this is the case for fans of One Piece is that Kidd is essentially just a bad Luffy. But maybe not a bad Luffy, that's a bad word. He's like off-brand Luffy. Great value Luffy. He's the Luffy you have at home. You want the toy at the store of Luffy, and your mom says, "You've got Luffy at home." She doesn't know, but this is the Luffy you have at home. All right, we're not here to roast Kidd. Well, you know, maybe a little. Kidd is on Elbaf currently. We called this many months ago because he did not finish his storyline in Wano. And because of that, we do need to finish his storyline because I don't think he's making it to Laugh Tale. And it's not his story. Kidd has no place there, right? Which means he has to be in another central arc. So that put him directly at Elbaf, especially considering that the thought was that he was going to find maybe the other poneglyph there, if it exists there. But then just recently, we also learned that, like a magnet drawing us to Elbaf, Jaguar D. Saul might be there, with all of the books from Ohara, waiting for Robin. The man marked by flames, right? So this made the idea of Kidd going to Elbaf even stronger. So today we're going to get into all of the reasons why Oda, from a narrative perspective, would put Kidd in this particular arc. And why my main hope is that he's actually one of the main antagonists of the arc. So let's get into all of that, but first, like, comment, subscribe if you're feeling the vibe. Here we go. So one of the starting things that we could see with Kidd is that he's actually welcomed with open arms. He is one of the people who defeated the enemy of the Giants, the one who toppled their hero, Beardfall, as a 5 or 6-year-old, Charlotte Linlin. So they may throw a party for these guys. While they're partying, they may get a tip. They may get a lead to the man marked by flames, a poneglyph, the books, something like that. And once they hear about that, then the Kidd that we have heard about, the Kidd that Shaki told us about, that we've never actually seen in the main narrative, but the one that would go and torture people, kill people, raise towns for information. That's the Kidd that I expect to see in Elbaf. And considering we've never seen one impressive feat from a giant in the entire story, well, I guess Dorian Bragi taking down the goldfish, there's no reason why Kidd and Killer shouldn't be able to take down most, if not all, of these giants on their own. And, you know, not to power scale, but just at the level that we are supposed to expect Kidd to be at in this particular story. And considering that every other giant we've ever seen got low-diffed. Dorian Bragi got low-diffed by Mr. 3. Beardfall got low-diffed by a 5 or 6-year-old. Hajradin, low-diffed by Luffy at the Kurita Coliseum. Vice Admiral Rons and Vice Admiral John Giant, low-diffed by Whitebeard. Now, top tier, right? I mean, it's to be expected at that particular point. But Kidd's got a, 3 billion berry bounty now. He's on par with one of the Emperors of the Sea, so he should be able to do this. What would this parallel? Jack pulling up to Zoe. He wanted to find Raizo, fought the Minx for several days, several nights, razed it to the ground, looking for one man. Who's to say that Kidd wouldn't do the exact same thing to find Saul? To put him on that level where he could finally be one step ahead of Luffy. They thought that the soul fruit was magic. That it was the sun god blessing them. If they see Kidd whipping around all of this metal, a lot of the townspeople there, I think, are going to just think he's some sort of a wizard and get scared. Now, how does Kid raising all of these towns in Elbaf create drama for the Straw Hats. Well, they arrive, and now they have this mountain to climb because the newspapers have associated Luffy with Kid. The alliance of Luffy, Law, and Kid took down Big Mom and Kaido. So it's painting a picture that Luffy and Kid are friends. They're working together. Any giants that see Luffy and the gang are going to run away. And then that creates a scenario where we essentially need Dory, Bragi, Oimo, and Kachi, any one of them or all four of them, to vouch for the Straw Hats. And it may take several chapters of like fighting with giants, trying to earn their trust in order to understand exactly what's going on. And the only way to maybe get that trust is for Luffy to actually take down Kid, someone who is his rival, not his friend. Yes, they may have fought in battle, and that creates a faux friendship when, you're in shonen manga and that's the way that Luffy thinks, right? But this could be a recreation of the Whiskey Peak fight against Luffy and Zoro, but done correctly, with actual meaning behind it. Luffy would feel betrayed by Kid, because he would think of him as a friend, but then see all of these towns razed, all of these people scared, and then now we have the act of liberation that we get in every single arc, where now Luffy can go up against Kid, take him down, put him on this path of realization that it's like, okay, maybe I'm not going to get the One Piece. Maybe it is this guy. And not to the point where we have to crush this man's dreams, because I know that Oda's not necessarily going to go that far with everything, but he does need to take a step back, because the story here is not about Luffy and Kid on the race to Laugh-Tale. It's Luffy and Blackbeard on the race to Laugh-Tale. So we need to get Kid out of the story. And Oda chose not to do that during Wano, which is why I knew Kid was going to go to Elbaf, because this is the arc where Kid has to realize that he either needs to take a back seat or he needs to die or something, which would be an interesting situation that we haven't seen in the story yet, where a captain dies and then the vice captain has to take over. And then we would see Killer kind of decide whether or not he wants to continue on this journey, and now he has to take over everything. And there's several ways that could happen as well. If, one of the biggest theories that's been around for over a decade, if Enel shows up in this arc. Luffy was his natural enemy, but Enel could potentially be Kid's natural enemy. Metal is a conductor of electricity, right? El Thor, Norse mythology all around. And quick reminder, that Elbaf is the arc that Oda has been waiting to write since the beginning of the story. People thought we weren't going to go to Elbaf. We will, because one of Oda's main inspirations for creating this story is a television show called Vicky the Viking, which Oda grew up watching. Oda likes to incorporate mythology all throughout. We saw it all the way through Wano. Not everything always had the name of what it was, but it was there. Like, Black Maria was a Jirogamo, which is a folklore about a giant spider that transforms into a woman to lure men into their traps. That's exactly what it is. She wasn't called a Jirogamo at any particular time, but she matches the imagery and everything like that. We could see that with some of the Norse mythology like Yggdrasil. We know about the Adam Tree, the Eve Tree. They could be on Elbaf. The Jormungandr, the world snake. What if the snakes that were on Jaya, that were also in Skypiea, like Nola and Kashi, what if they came from Elbaf? Home of the giants? Why wouldn't you have giant snakes there? Frost giants. Potentially that's something we've already seen as well with the Yeti Cool brothers. They could be an offshoot of different types of giants. The giant wolf, Fenrir. But ultimately, the Elbaf arc needs to end with a gigantic war, because the biggest thing in Norse mythology is Ragnarok, obviously popularized by the Marvel movie, but it's deeper than that. There's also the very big possibility that Big Mom returns in Elbaf. Big Mama Chanter got away according to Big News Morgan, so who's to say they didn't recover her and get her back into shape? Her whole story ties to Elbaf. We could reconcile the events of her birthday either with Pudding, using her ability, or she could have the story told to her by the one giant that got away during her backstory. Speaking of other giants, there's that giant from the auction at the archipelago that owes the Straw Hats a favor. He could play a role. Now, what if Blackbeard, we're getting crazy here, pulls up to connect the pudding aspect? Then we have an extreme version of Ragnarok with the Blackbeard pirates, the Big Mom pirates, the Straw Hat pirates, the Kid pirates, and to get crazy, the Red Hair pirates, because they've been speculated to be in Elbaf forever. That's worthy of a series climax to me. Add Enel from the moon just to spice it up another notch, and now I want Enel versus Big Mom. If the world government finds out about the books, finds out about Saul, finds out about, anything that's going on, right now, and that the Straw Hats are on their way to Elbaf, they're going to send all of their forces there. Especially if, for whatever reason, the forces at Egghead lose or get pulled away by the Kuma attacking Celestial Dragons at Marijoa. And then they have to reformat, the way they're going to tackle everything. Could Loki be a villain of the arc? Potentially, but I also feel like Loki, as the god of mischief, would probably play a role similar to Wapol, if anything. Not really a main antagonist, but, someone that's just kind of causing problems. I don't really see there being a villain that is an Elbafian. The villain has to come from outside, whether that's Enel, whether that's Kid, whether that's Shanks. I'm not on the whole, that Elbaf needs to be Shanks' arc, but it could be. Or maybe there's a redemption arc for Kid, a sacrifice play. If we just get another standard alliance between Luffy and Kid, there's no drama. Like, say Loki's bad, right? And then Luffy shows up, and then it's Kid and Luffy against Loki. That is completely uninteresting to me, unless we have the drama beforehand. We need to build up to that. We need to understand Kid a little bit more as well. Maybe we can get a little bit of a backstory. The one in the SBS is a little thin. Kid was wildly uninteresting, at least to me, during Wano, but that doesn't mean that he has to be uninteresting during Elbaf. This is an opportunity for Kid to actually become the character that Oda always wanted him to be. Oda said he had plans for Kid. Like, he may not have had everything written out for what he wanted to do for most of the Supernova, but he said that he always knew that Kid was going to be important. And I don't think that Wano was essentially that arc that he was supposed to be really important in. Okay, sure, he took down Big Mom, but ultimately I feel that Elbaf is going to be an arc about reconnecting with Saul if we don't do it beforehand. We're either going to Elbaf with Saul, or we're going to meet Saul at Elbaf. We're going to read those books. We have been expecting Elbaf to be a Usopp-centric arc, and it very well may be, because there are going to be at least 3 individual plot lines going on at any time, and Usopp may have his own plot line where he becomes, this hero and settles into being a brave warrior of the sea. Maybe he is responsible for getting the Giants to trust the Straw Hats, because he is the one that had the most stable relationship between Dory, Bragi, Oimo, and Kashi. If Hajradin plays a role, like, Usopp is a god to him. It could be a situation where it's Usopp and Vivi working together, because I do have the theory that Vivi will be a part of Elbaf because she was a part of Little Garden and also has an established relationship with Dory and Bragi. Are they protecting her from the world government currently? Potentially. If she got slapped there by Kuma. We don't know yet. There's plenty of ways for all of this to go. I want to hear your ideas. Why do you think Oda put Kid in Elbaf? Sound off in the comments below. And thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe if you're feeling the vibe. And I'll see you in the next one.
I've been swimming deep, deep. Savage.